Just because we're doing this experiment doesn't mean that you should. We're willing to accept the risk because we've been in YieldMax ETFs for 16 months and have experienced the rewards. You just have to do it right. If you want our strategy, listen to episode 70 of our podcast. And now for the cray-cray. All right, so we have decided to basically put our money where our mouth is because we're always talking about the YieldMax strategy, and we keep saying that it makes so much sense from a debt arbitrage or a yield arbitrage standpoint. I just remembered yesterday that I have a line of credit available, an unsecured line of credit available in my local credit union. So I ran the math, and it makes a lot of sense to do that. I have $15,000 available to take out. My interest rate is 17.25%, which is kind of high, but I'm not surprised they do that based on, I guess, whatever your current credit score is. And since I recently opened those 3 credit cards, I'm not surprised that that's come down. I think their normal high credit score rate is like 13%, so it's not that much difference. And again, because this is such a short time span, it doesn't really matter. So Tim and I ran the math on like what CONY's been paying out for the shares that we have, and it is coming out to be like 10.2% a month. Because if you use the number based in YieldMax's current earning, it's 142% for the year. So if you divide that by 12, but when I did it as a cautionary, it was like $12.50. So that's why I had 15 months down here. That's why some of these are negative. But anyway, if I put it back the way I had it, because this was the first way I ran it. So my interest for the $1,500 for the first month would be $215. And then I calculated the principal because they were giving me like a payment calculator. So I just like subtracted out. You can see E2 minus C2. You'll see back here that $15,000 we just estimated 100% would give $12.50 a month in payouts. And every time you take that money out, because we're not going to reinvest any of this, I'll make that extra payment. We'll get this thing knocked out, and basically we'll get a free $15,000 in money, having only spent $1,765 in interest. So the ROI for like only investing this much, getting this much in return is absolutely ludicrous. You'll have an ROI of around 749% for this case, specifically a 15-month period. Tim doesn't think CONY is going to be value oriented past probably the 12-month mark. So if we do end up getting as much yield as he is projecting from what he was doing as this, it'll be paid off like in the 12-month period. So that will be working out nice. So Tim and I were talking, and because the ex-dividend date is like fastly approaching, Tim just looked it up and it is showing as 12/12. Today is the 9th. Hopefully this freaking bank thing will be in by the 11th. Most deposits take 1 to 2 days. Bank transfers take 1 to 2 days to transfer, but I'm with a local federal credit union and they do kind of suck. So we'll see. Even if I miss it, that's why I have 0 in here for this extra payment for the first month. So even with that, it could take an extra month for that. Okay. So what we are going to do, Tim just opened another brokerage account, and this is going to be our YieldMax experiment. In order to get money into here, I got to move it into the checking account. Over to members first. I'm going to go take this loan out. So if I go down here and I click on my personal line of credit, you'll see here that I have an available balance of $15,000, but I have no line of credit taken out. My interest rate is 17.25. So that's not as nice as I'd like it, but the math still wins out. So I am going to take an advance. Here we go. It's from personal line of credit to my personal checking account. We're going to go with the full $15,000. YOLO. Transfer now. Optional note. We're going to put experiment. That'd be hilarious if you're like the banker looking up at this. Oh my God. They have a note down here that says offensive language is prohibited and could result in corrective measures. All right. So 15 G's. Hitting the button. Line of credit. One time. Experimente. Before we make this official, take a minute to double check. Yes. Personal line of credit. Moving it into my checking. Continue. Validation failed. One or both of the products you've selected appear to be invalid. Please try a different combination. Severity error. What is happening here? Again, this bank is a piece of garbage. Oh, I guess it went through even though it errored out. Oh my God. This bank, I swear. This is the whole reason I wanted to close this. All right, so I officially have... I got an advance, so now I have a loan for $15,000. If I go back to my account and I go into my checking, it is now showing as $15,334. Now, if I pop over to Schwabi and I come in here and I go to transfer funds. You're going to do a cash only, and we're going to select from an account. I'm going to do my external members first to right into my YieldMax. Cash them out. 15 G's, baby. Okay, one-time frequency and transfer date would be today. On the 13th is when I have trade clearance. It is what it is, so that's why I kind of banked on this not getting paid out that first month. So I do have enough money in my checking account to probably cover the first payment with no extra. And then whenever the heck the cash comes through, I'll be able to make that extra payment. So we're going to continue. I mean, it could very well be in there earlier. Who knows? Banks do weird stuff. Please review. So we're going YieldMax, 15,000, one time, this date. Withdraw and trade with no restrictions. Okay. By clicking I agree, we're good. But all right, my transfer request was submitted. Confirmation, back to accounts, summary. Are you kidding me? Like it already is showing in here? We probably will go in here early and actually try to buy stuff just because. So I don't know if you guys remember back in the day, my parents talked about it, where like the interest rates on loans were lower than the interest rate on their savings account. So a lot of people were doing interest rate arbitrage, and they would be taking loans out, putting it in their savings account, making the money back, and then just making the payments and like pocketing the difference and whatever. And that's the whole strategy with this, is though you can leverage any amount of debt that you have available. If you have a house, you can do it with a HELOC. If you have a line of credit, I don't know that I'd recommend doing it on a cash advance on a credit card because the interest rates on that get kind of high, but you could potentially do that on this. So that's your own call. But this is a way, if you don't actually have cash, to basically create free cash out of thin air using OPM, other people's money. So basically, if you had credit card debt, this is a way, or if you have like a mortgage, and that's what I was saying, my one mortgage is, I still have like $85,000 on it. I could have took a line of credit out on it. But again, like I said, I don't have the job to basically get that to happen. And I just don't feel like taking so long to go through the headache. I already had this available. But basically, my goal, if I would do that, would be to pay off the mortgage faster through leveraging a HELOC to make extra money to then, pay all that off. That's a way to get your stuff paid down, basically leveraging money. And I actually think this is fairly low risk as long as you stick to the plan and you follow. You're going to have to tap into Tim to know exactly which YieldMax is going to be worth getting in at what time. Just because of the macroeconomic climate right now, crypto is going to freaking be on fire for the next year. So the price valuation of CONY right now is fairly good. Okay, so CONY's at 17. That's below their initial offering of 20, so that's actually a bit undervalued. Okay, so it's going to have volatility because cryptocurrency, which YieldMax makes more money in high volatile markets. And the price devaluation, we still think Coinbase and all that's going to go up. So this should be pretty safe from a principal standpoint, even though that doesn't really matter for this experiment. But if it makes you feel warm and fuzzy, this is the better one to get in right now for this experiment for 2025. So we will update every month and actually update the figures that I have in this spreadsheet for actual real-time data, because I'm not 100% sure what my principal is actually going to be or the payment's actually going to be, but this is just an estimate based on what they have in their members first had in their loan calculator area. I'm not entirely sure what the term is, but I assume it's 5 years, 60 months. If that's different, we may be in for a surprise for the first one. So the first payment, I should be able to move a little bit of money from my other account in to cover a 374 until we can get this first payout from here. And then it'll just be massive pay down going forward. All right, guys, we will be back at the end of, I'll probably make an update when the money goes in and we buy this.